when you and I take up this call and we talk about abortion, if we speak about it in church, we're told we're too political. If we speak about it in the political arena, we're told we're too religious. If we speak about it in the world of the media, it's too disturbing. In the world of business, it's too distracting. In the world of education, it's too controversial. In the streets, it's too disruptive. So abortion, if abortion is wrong, where do we go to say so? We go into the churches, we go into politics, into the media, into business, into education, and into the streets. Some churches haven't wanted to get involved in political hassles with the government, so they've been silent on abortion. They didn't want to get involved in hassles from the government. They didn't want to take the fight to the government. So now with the HHS mandate, the government took the fight to them. And when it comes to that mandate, we've got a simple message. We will obey God rather than them. As Alveda can tell us, her uncle said one day to the civil rights movement, we've got a lot of obstacles in our way, but we're not going to let anything turn us around. We're not going to let no dogs turn us around, no water hoses turn us around, no police clubs or jail sentences, and we're not going to let any injunctions turn us around. And so today I say to you, in the pro-life movement, no Planned Parenthood is going to turn us around. No biased media is going to turn us around. No HHS mandate is going to turn us around. No Obama administration is going to turn us around. We are marching for a certainty. And it's not only the certainty that we will arrive at the day of victory for the unborn, it is a certainty that the power which now dismembers them and crushes them and throws them in the garbage is a power which at its roots has already been defeated.
Well, I'll tell you, Father Frank, it's amazing that we're actually sharing the stage with you. When Jason and I were kids, we met you in 1988.
Yes.
You look the exact same. He's got the same hair, the same glasses, and the same outfit. In 1991, that was the height of abortion. It was 2,197 freestanding abortion clinics in America. Today, thanks to the work of Priests for Life and other organizations and Christians and Catholics joining hands and uniting for life, there are less than 600 freestanding abortion clinics in America.
Well, hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me. Of course, I'm Janet Morana, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. And time to send me your questions, of course. And, when people say, oh, come on, Janet, do you really want to answer my question? I'll tell you, honestly, I would love to answer your questions. I will try to the best of my ability. I'm not promising to be the expert in everything, but after working with Father Pavone in the pro-life movement for, my goodness, I've known Father for 31 years. When he was first ordained, he was sent to my parish. So, I've been kind of like his understudy, studying alongside with him. So I do have, experience, what would you say, with the traveling, the speaking, and all that. So I'll do my very best to answer as many questions as I can during this time. I'm glad you joined me. Just so you know, here in Florida, you must be hearing in the news about our numbers are going up. And yeah, we're very concerned about that. I can tell you here at Priests for Life, we're following all the rules. All my staff are spread out. Everyone has their own office space. And if we leave our office, we put on our masks, which I have mine here. See, I've got my mask. When we use those, when we have to leave our office, walk around the building, go to the restroom, eat in our cafe. Well, of course, you have to take it off to eat, but you get the picture. We have hand sanitizer all over. We're doing everything possible to stay safe. The same thing at home. I mean, I don't enter a store without putting on my mask. And I have a big pump of hand sanitizer in the where you put your coffee cup in the car. Well, I have a big pump of hand sanitizer there. So we're doing everything possible. And people keep asking, well, why all these cases in Florida? Well, I think part of the problem was a lot of people were not following the rules. There's still people. You see some people out there not wearing masks, So that's part of it. I did hear Memorial Day weekend, a lot of people were at big barbecues and parties, so they weren't practicing. The 10 or less only family members, they weren't maybe, socially distancing themselves. That might be the cause. We also in Florida, we have a lot of visitors, which could be added to it. And then, of course, we had theme parks open a few weeks ago. Actually, everyone focused on this weekend that, Disney opened. But actually, several weeks ago, Universal opened, SeaWorld opened, and Orange County is like one of the top counties with the most cases. And that's where those theme parks are. So I don't know. But, we're praying that we get a handle on this, that everyone that's watching right now, all your friends and family are safe. Unfortunately, I do know people who lost people to COVID-19. It's very sad. But I also know people who died from a lot of other things in these past few months also. So, let's just do the best we can and get through it the best we can. I know a lot of people are anxious right now about school. My daughter and son-in-law, they're up in New York and they're public school teachers. So they're very anxious about what's going to happen, what's the school year. And of course, I'm concerned about, my grandchildren and school and what's that going to look like. So I guess we just have to take it day by day, pray to the Lord, stay close to the Lord in our prayer life. That will give us our strength. I too really believe. We say our prayers. And of course, Father Pavone says the Mass here every day on this channel. If you're not tuning in at 10 a.m., that's awesome experience. And of course, we repeat it at 6 p.m. So that just in case you are back to work or not working from home, you can join the Mass again at 6 p.m. on endabortion.tv. So let's go for the first question. It comes from Gabriella Alfano. Italiano. Do you know what is the percentage of abortions done using rape as a justification for the procedure? Yeah, they say it's only about 1% of all abortions are performed because of rape. Okay, and then she also asks what the law says about rape-related abortions. Hello from Canada. Canada. We have Silent No More in Canada, and our national coordinator up there is Angelina Steenstra, and I was very sad. I had to miss, of course, this year because of COVID, the March for Life Canada, and they did it as a virtual march. So I'm praying that next year I can come back and be there for the March for Life every May, and be happy to sing your national anthem, "Oh Canada," which I do know. Okay, but to answer the question about rape again, only about 1% of all cases are because of rape. And actually, studies have been done, and I actually wrote about this in my book, Recall Abortion. There's a whole chapter on rape and incest. And Dr. David Reardon, he's from you can Google his name and his research from the Elliott Institute. And he studied women who were raped and aborted as opposed to women who were raped and then either made an adoption plan or raised the child themselves. And of the women he studied, 80% of the women, okay, said they regretted their abortion. Okay, that the abortion did not unrape them. They still had the trauma of the rape, and then having that guilt of that destroying the life of that child was worse for them. And yet, the women that he interviewed that gave birth to the child found it healing. And the women who placed a child for adoption said it was good for them because they felt like they gave life to that child. And yet there were women he interviewed who actually raised the child. And again, I have all those testimonies in my book, Recall Abortion, and all the facts. And they said the child did not remind them of the rapist. And it was a very healing thing to have known that they gave birth to that child. So the voices of experience really always play out in the end, right? Because all this other stuff is just theory and rhetoric when people say, oh, what about the woman who was raped? Well, did you ever talk to the women who were raped? Did you study the women who were raped and get their reaction? We have. On our website of Silent No More, you can go to abortiontestimony.com. You can click off rape and incest as a search thing, and the testimonies will come up. And you can read the stories of these women who were raped and deeply, deeply regretted that they had that abortion after being raped. And by the way, it's usually the women who were raped who aren't rushing out for the abortion. It's everyone around them at that moment after that rape, and they find out they're pregnant, who are pressuring them to abort. Of course you want to have an abortion. You want to do this. So it's usually the family members. It's usually the social worker. Even the medical people will say, oh, yeah, we'll just do a termination. They like to use the word termination. So again, the voices of experience really undo all the rhetoric that's out there about rape and incest. And anyone watching, my Facebook friends here, if you'd like a copy of my book, Recall Abortion, during this broadcast, just shoot me an email at orders@priestforlife.org, and I'll personally send you a copy. Because you know what? I really want you to be able to debate this issue with your friends and family and your circle of influence, so we can show people that, having an abortion doesn't unrape the woman. It's a second trauma. Okay, now we'll go to the next question. Brandon McCarthy, he says, I'm pro-life with one exception. I think I know what this is going to be. There is not a single thing in the world a man could experience that would even come close to the indignity of being forced to carry your rapist baby to term. So, okay, it's the rape question again. And yeah, Brandon, no, like I just said, when you talk to the women who were raped and carried the baby to term, they said that this didn't traumatize them further. In fact, they said giving birth to that child was healing for them. It healed them from the rape. So you're just going by rhetoric. And when you talk to the people who've actually been through the experience, again, Brandon, like they said, having the baby was a very healing thing. Okay, next question. Joanne Ford, I watch you on EWTN. Did you know Mother Angelica? Well, I mean, of course, not super well, but yes, I had the privilege, and I call it a privilege, of knowing Mother Angelica because of traveling to EWTN with Father Pavone to tape our Defending Life series. And so, back in those days, before Mother moved the sisters out to Hansville, the cloister was right there at the network, all right? And so Mother, she would do her live show, and she'd talk to the audience. And when I would go with Father to do Defending Life, he was always on her live show with her. And one funny story is I was waiting by the reception desk when the show was over, and Father was still greeting some of the people in the audience, and Mother Angelica had come out of the studio, and there was a spot by the reception desk where she would go in the back, and that was her entrance back into the cloister. And so she stopped to chat with me, and she says, hey, oh, yeah, Mother used to talk. Hi, honey, come here. Want to see some pictures? I said, sure, Mother. What of what? Oh, you got to see this little piece of property I bought out in Hansville. I'm going to build myself a monastery out there for the sisters. And I said, Mother, why are you going to go an hour away from the network? Why so far? And she giggled and she said, well, Janet, the cell phone signal's terrible out there. So they're going to have to pay attention to Jesus and the big monsters I'm going to have out there. And sure enough, Mother was 100% correct. She built a beautiful temple out there, the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. I mean, if you haven't been there, it's worth a trip. The monstrance, I think, must be about 12 feet high. It's huge. And she's right. You barely get a bar signal on your cell phone out there. So Mother was right. You have to, when you're out there, worship the Lord, spend some time with him, and shut out the rest of the world. So there's a funny story about Mother Angelica. And of course, when she passed away, Father Pavone and I, we had the privilege of going to Birmingham. I was there at her funeral, and I was able to venerate her body. And I actually have prayer cards that got touched to Mother Angelica. And I guess one day, if I'm still alive and she's declared a saint, I'll have some third-class relic cards I can give out to you guys. So stay tuned. Who knows? Anyway. All right. Justin Monroe. And his question is all contraception wrong? What about the rhythm method and NFP? Really, those are contraceptions, aren't they? All right. Well, here we go. All right. So the church teaching, and you can look all this up in the catechism. The church teaching is that they're against contraception. All right. But NFP is not contraception. All right. So we'll get to that in a second. They're against, obviously, the birth control pills, the barrier methods, all that, condoms, all that stuff is considered contraception. And it's because you're trying to abort life or abort God's will. All right. And in fact, the birth control pill is an abortifacient. That there's a huge risk that every time you're taking the pill, what the pill does is it makes the lining of the woman's uterus uninhabitable for a fertilized egg. So what happens is, if that little egg comes down the fallopian tube and it's been fertilized by the little sperm, it can't implant in the woman's uterus, and so that baby, that embryo, is then flushed out. Basically, it's sad. The other thing that's bad about the birth control pill is, and again, I wrote about this in Recall Abortion, a whole chapter about the birth control pill. The church is teaching God's way is the right way. And when the church was saying all the way back with Pope Paul VI, which, by the way, July the 25th, we're in July next week, it's the anniversary of Humana Vitae, the beautiful encyclical written by now Saint Pope Paul VI. I recommend, if you haven't read that encyclical, you should read it, because you know why? Pope Paul VI was like a visionary, because he said this was back in 1968. He said, if birth control is embraced by people, abortion will follow. I mean, he said that in 1968, before abortion was legal in America. Imagine. So there's a lot of wisdom in that. So, and the birth control pill is bad for women's health. It's a group 1 carcinogen, and that's established by the World Health Organization, which is a branch of the United Nations. Okay. So that's not the Catholic Church telling you that it's a poisonous thing for women. It's the World Health Organization. So, all in all, contraception is, against the church's teaching. It's not what you're supposed to be doing in marriage. But it doesn't mean you can't space out your children. All right? So, natural family planning. First of all, forget the rhythm method. That was back in the 50s and 60s. That's passé. But natural family planning is beautiful. Really, you should Google it. There's several methods. All right. There's the one from Dr. Hilgers is one method, and then the Billings method is more than one natural family planning method you could choose from. And here's another little factor about NFP, natural family planning. Couples that practice NFP have a much, much lower divorce rate than couples that use contraception. So, again, God's way is the right way for us, isn't it? Even the marriages. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's look at our next question. All right, Leslie writes, big news in the last day or two is that the global fertility rate is falling, and it's going to be catastrophic. But none of the stories mention abortion. Doesn't abortion figure into it? Of course it does. I mean, here in the United States alone, we are killing 3,000 babies a day by abortion. But abortion's the sacred cow. Nobody wants to mention abortion. Nobody wants to talk about abortion. It's all about choice and women's health and this and that. But yeah, abortion worldwide is a huge problem, huge. And of course, with the population argument, I mean, it is absolutely so ridiculous. I mean, and also too, a lot of people are talking about minorities right now in the news. All right, do you realize that in New York City, where I'm from, that more Black babies are aborted than are born? Now, there's a statistic for you. More Black babies are aborted. Now, where's Black Lives Matter people? You're not concerned? Isn't that being racist? Isn't that being prejudiced? Isn't that being this, and the other thing? And that Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was a eugenicist. She wanted to get rid of the Black race, called them inferiors, all right? So there's a lot more to be said about this. But yes, Leslie, the answer to your question is, yeah, abortion's a huge factor, and that should be considered. All right, Julie Strain, and her question is, do you have an idea of how many abortions have been done since COVID? I see many states are still, what? I can't see the rest of her question. Okay. But do you think, I don't know, since COVID? I haven't seen any statistics about the increase of abortions during COVID. I can tell you this, that remember back in April, the entire country was in lockdown. The president and the CDC put the whole country in lockdown. Think back. We weren't supposed to leave our homes except to go to the grocery store and back again, emergency only. And basically everything came to a grinding halt, right? Stores were closed. I mean, it was kind of eerie. But guess what was allowed to stay open? Abortion clinics. And I know from sidewalk counselors that we got reports from even like the abortion clinics up in Orlando, where I'm from here now, Florida, all over the country. They weren't practicing social distancing. They had women jammed in the waiting room. And this is when the country was supposed to be on lockdown. So, I mean, maybe that was the cause of more COVID being spread, huh? Of people still going into abortion clinics and being one on top of the other. So, but whether there was an increase in abortions, I don't know. Someone said this to me recently. They said, well, let's see, April, the whole country is locked down, May, June, July. Maybe abortions are increasing now because they found out they got pregnant because of everyone being stuck at home. Because, there was another joke. I think it was yesterday was the anniversary of this big, big blackout. We had all of New York. Imagine the entire New York City being blacked out. And I remember this. It happened, I think it was 1977, right? And sure enough, 9 months later, there was like a boom in births, So some people kid around that, there were more babies conceived during the month of April this year. So we'll have to see 9 months from now. But unfortunately, like we just said, I'm sure some of them will end up with abortions, because people think that's the way of solving their problem. And we know by the Women Are Silent No More, abortion does not solve the problem. It creates so many other problems. Mary Thomas has a question. Okay, say abortion becomes illegal. Do you believe illegal abortion can be prevented? And if so, how? If not, what's criminalization worth is so much harm to women? All right, well, first of all, legality gives permission. And I can tell you by the testimonies of the women from Silent No More, if you want to read some of them, just go to abortiontestimony.com. So many of these women in their stories, they say things like, well, because it was legal, I thought it was okay. So see, if something is made illegal, that's a game changer for some people. They're not going to do it. I mean, why do we have speed limit, right? Because otherwise, if we didn't have speed limits, people would drive crazy, right? They would be doing all kinds of speeds. So having rules, having, things that we're supposed to do and not supposed to do, keeps people in check. So making abortion illegal, meaning Roe v. Wade is overturned, would be the step one of that. Well, abortion is still going to be legal in a lot of states. For example, before 1973, abortion was legal in 5 states. New York was one of them, California, and 3 others, all right? 5 states had abortion legal. And matter of fact, in New York, it was, excuse me, only legal up to the 24 weeks. And that's what happened 2 years ago when they made that horrible law on January 22nd, Cuomo signed, making abortion legal in New York all the way up to birth, which is, I mean, that's like so ridiculous. But up till then, you could only have an abortion in New York up to 24 weeks. All right, so before Roe v. Wade, 5 states had it legal. Now, what has happened in America right now is states are doing different things. So now in New York, they passed a law saying abortion is legal through all 9 months of pregnancy. So if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it's going to throw it back to the states. Okay? So in New York, you'll still be able to get an abortion. So it's never going to be 100% illegal through the entire United States. So that's the first point, Mary Thomas. Okay? There are good states like Louisiana. Louisiana and several other states have passed what they call a trigger law. And in their state, they said when Roe v. Wade is overturned, abortion will be illegal in our state. So we want to see that happen in more states right now. That's the kind of things you can work through your state legislature right now, is these trigger laws. Because, you know, the day will come. If we have President Trump for another 4 years, guaranteed he will get to appoint at least 1 or 2 more Supreme Court justices. And that's what we need. Right now, we really don't have a secure majority, all right? As we know, Roberts sometimes disappoints us like he did just recently, you know, and a 5-4 decision is not what's going to overturn Roe. Roe v. Wade was passed by a 7-2 decision, and that's the kind of majority we're going to need to overturn it. But again, like I just said, what's super important right now is the work we're doing in the states, because once Roe's overturned, it will still be legal, like in California, in New York, and some other states that are passing similar laws. And so we've got to fight hard now to have a lot of states pass laws to make it a trigger law. So when it's overturned, it's illegal in our state. But again, if it's illegal, even in a state like New York where it will be legal, like you can have the abortion, because it's considered illegal so many places, a lot of people are just not going to do it, you know? I mean, think about marijuana smoking, right? Marijuana smoking used to be illegal all over our country. So a lot of people didn't smoke marijuana. But now in states where they're passing laws saying it's legal, well, now it's going through the roof, right? Because it's legal here, legal there. Again, legality gives permission. So I hope that answers your question. Vivian Rascani, another Italiano name. Why is there a double standard at work here in which we stay quiet about abortion while mourning miscarriage? Oh boy, oh boy. Yes, I 100% agree. And why is it? Well, that's a question we have to ask, start at the top. The bishops and the clergy, why are they silent on abortion? But in fact, you know, they're also silent on miscarriage. I've done some shows on the Catholic View for Women and our Defending Life program saying, you know, when a woman loses a child from miscarriage, we should consider that, have the same reaction as if a born child died. And so many people just want to sweep even miscarriage under the rug, going, oh, you know, nature took its course. You can always have more kids and all this stuff. So we have to, first of all, learn to properly mourn miscarriage. But we should be mourning abortion. 3,000 children. When I got up out of bed this morning, people say, how do you keep doing this, Janet, every day? Coming to work, Priest for Life. So passionate. Because every morning I get up and realize today, no matter what I do, close to 3,000 children are going to die from abortion today. And that's only surgical abortions that we can count. That's not counting all the RU486. That's not counting the morning after pills and all the other stuff. And so, yeah, our hearts should be broken. We should be saying there must be something we can do. And that's what motivates me to come to work here every day at Priest for Life. And I will people keep asking me, you know, I'm 67 years old, and they say to me, oh, so Janet, when are you going to retire? Well, my answer always is when the Lord calls me home. Yeah, that's when I'm going to retire. You can't just walk away from this issue. Once you're in, like all in like we are here at Priest for Life, you can't just retire. You can't just walk away. Why? Because I want, you know, when I first started working with Father Pavone, you were having like over 4,000, 4,500 babies died every single day. So have we made progress? Well, now we only have 3,000 dying. But one baby dying is one too many. And that's why I'm committed. Like I said, I kid around everyone here. I tell everyone pretty like, well, I guess I'll be coming to work one day with my walker or my scooter. Who knows? I'm sticking it out with you, brothers and sisters, till the day I die, because I want to see abortion, really, let's get this solved and let's stop hurting the women. Because see, I deal with the aftermath. I deal through Rachel's Vineyard and everything else with the women who've been hurt by abortion and the tragedy that they suffer and how many years they'll suffer, their life spinning out of control until it hits rock bottom. And then they reach up and want help. That's what motivates me. And I hope that's what motivates you. And I hope all of you stay in touch with us here at Priest for Life. And if you want any of our resources, like I said, my book, Recall Abortion, all right, has most of the questions you're asking me. I've written about it in this book. And then I have another book I wrote, Shockwaves, Abortion's Widest Circle of Victims, which I'll also love to send to you. And in that book, I go beyond it's kind of like the idea at the epicenter is the death of every baby. But what happens? That shockwave reverberates out to the mother, to the father, to the grandparents, to the aunts, the uncles, the cousins. How many people are missing from the family tree or from that family portrait because of abortion? And then, of course, it affects the future siblings. So if you'd like to learn more about that, just, again, send me an email at orders@priestforlife.org. I'd love to send you my books, both Recall Abortion and Shockwaves. And, of course, tune in to endabortion.tv. Here where we have programming, every night now at 9:00, Father Frank does a teaching. Some nights he does it on the election. Other nights he does it on abortion and scripture. Really great programming. And he does that Monday through Friday. Oh, no, it's 7 days a week now. I forgot. Father's doing that 7 days a week. And of course, I have programming here every afternoon at 3:30. And Alveda King every Wednesday at 3:30. And then, of course, that programming repeats after the Mass every night. So Mass repeats at 6, and then our programs come back on at 7. So I want to thank you for joining me. And also, too, if you'd like to support our ministry, we would be more than happy if you could. Just go to prolifegift.org, where you can make a donation to Priest for Life so that we can keep our doors open. And as Mother Angelica used to say, put us between your gas bill and your electric bill, if you can, that would be wonderful. So again, thanks for joining me. Someone else just said, I want to get the books. Orders@priestforlife.org. I'd love to send you the books. I need them to teach at my church. Sure, Gabriella Alfano. Give me your address. Send me an email, orders@priestforlife.org. We'll get them out to you tomorrow. Okay, the books. All right. Well, again, thank you for joining me on Just Ask Janet. And I'll be back live again every Thursday. And you can send in your questions, and I hope I can answer them. From now until we chat again, be safe. God bless you. And I'll talk to you again next week.